My name is Sarah Lyons from Belfast Met, and today I am going to tell you a little bit about Bring It On, and then we're going to look at why you might consider a career in IT. So we're going to look at pathways into the industry, and we're also going to hear from Laura Suter from Civica. She's going to talk about her route into IT, and I really love Laura's story, so I can't wait to hear it again. Bring It On is a programme which is funded by the Department for the Economy, and it's delivered across Northern Ireland by Belfast Met. And it's all about raising awareness on careers and pathways into the industry, and that is for any new entrant. Given the current situation, we thought it was a good idea to run a series of webinars focused on people who maybe have been impacted by the current pandemic and are thinking about a change in direction. So each month we're going to be running this webinar, really starting off looking at the same themes, and we're going to be joined by a different industry representative each time. So you may think getting into IT is just for the fresh graduate, but really I'm here to tell you today that it's not. There may be traditional routes into the sector, yes, but working in a college, even in times before COVID, we saw people looking to switch and take the jump into IT regularly. Just because you've worked in one industry for many years, it doesn't mean that you should feel stuck in that one area. You are going to have amazing skills that are transferable to a life in the IT sector. And what I should say is, if you have any questions at any time during the session this morning, please do type them into the chat box. So we're just going to begin by looking at why you might consider a career in IT. So, well, first of all, salaries. So according to research published this month by our local statistics and research agency, the average salary in tech here in Northern Ireland is £41,000, which compares to an average salary of £27,000 across all industries in Northern Ireland. There are lots of jobs. The COVID pandemic has hit the labour market hard. However, the tech industry does continue to grow, and according to a report by Tech Nation, Northern Ireland has the highest percentage of digital tech roles across all UK nations, with 23% of all vacancies are digital tech roles. Northern Ireland has really become a hub for digital tech, with Belfast ranking in the top 10 cities for the future. You will get to thrive personally. Working in IT means that you will work across diverse teams, leading to a really rewarding career. And you'll also have the opportunity to work across many different industries. In a large organisation, you could work in a project, anything from healthcare to cybercrime. So really, there's an opportunity to get involved in such diverse things. You'll note that I missed one out there. Usually when I'm talking to people, I am out face to face, having a nice chat and talking about all the lovely offices that I've visited across the years. And there's a real focus in the IT sector for people who are for employers to have their employees really engaged, and there's places where you can relax, have coffee, and even with this remote working situation that we're in at the moment, I have seen on this likes of LinkedIn and Twitter, some of our Bring It On ambassadors sending out trick or treat boxes to their employees, and recently I seen one company was having a chocolate tasting at home. And there is a space, for a really, really good work life. There are many different career paths in the IT sector. Really, when I talk about IT, it's a Pandora's box. There's not just one role or one career path that you may choose. You could choose to work in an IT team in any business. You may decide, I think I quite like the look of games design, or you may think software engineering is for you. You may be interested in data analytics, cyber, testing, design, user experience, or you may be thinking, Sarah, what on earth are you talking about? And that is completely okay. I will actually point you to some resources where you can find out a lot more. So really, in IT, the world of IT is never going to sit still. It's going to keep changing all the time. And you know, it's such an exciting place to be in. I've just had a note from my colleague saying that my screen share is not working, so I'm going to start sharing my screen again. What could you see there? Could you not see anything?
Just you.
Just me. I'm sorry, everybody. So this is my lovely screen share now. So hopefully everybody can see that now. So I do apologise. So you'll get the opportunity to keep learning. The world of technology is constantly changing. You'll be able to grow and develop new skills. So really, the last point I have on that side is explore your creative side. So before I came into the tech industry, or before I came into Belfast Met, I used to work in IT myself, and I came from a non-tech background. And I think really coming from a non-tech background, that added a lot of value. You know, I was able to look at things in a different way and really add value to teams because I didn't come through the traditional route as some other people had. So you'll get the chance to really explore your creative side. So I'm going to now move on to different pathways into the sector and how you might consider getting into IT. So the first way is if you have a GCSE or equivalent qualifications, you may want to look at doing A-levels in any subject. Sometimes if you want to go on to do a university degree, maths is preferred, but not always. There are a number of other areas that you can consider. So you could look at your further education colleges. There are 6 further education colleges in Northern Ireland, and you may consider doing a BTEC diploma or extended diploma. There is also an OCR level 2 diploma in IT that you could look at, but it really depends on what area you're thinking of going into. So that could be broad-based IT, games development, creative media production, software development, networking and IT infrastructure, or cybersecurity. If you have an A-level or an equivalent qualification, then you might look at going back and doing a degree or a part-time degree if you're working at the same time. There are foundation degrees and HNDs in IT-related subjects available at further education colleges across Northern Ireland. We're going to actually focus in particular on apprenticeships today because that is how Laura got into the industry. So there are higher level apprenticeships in IT subjects available in all further education colleges in Northern Ireland and level 3 apprenticeships. So what I should say though is in order to do an apprenticeship, you must be employed. So you've got to post with an employer and they are sending you through the college to do your apprenticeship. And really different employers do advertise at different times for apprenticeship. I know with regard to Belfast Met, they have a joint advertising campaign with employers that go through the college, and that runs from around June time to August. So that's when you can apply for the ones through Belfast Met. But for other ones, like I would recommend that on any job search site that you maybe put a search in for yourself and say an IT apprenticeships if that's the path that you want to choose to go down. So really the benefits of doing an apprenticeship is that you're employed, so you're getting paid. There's no fees for the course. You quite often during an apprenticeship you'll get a vendor qualification. So what I mean by that is you might get a Microsoft Technical Associate qualification or a couple of those type of qualifications. It depends on really the apprenticeship that you're doing. In Belfast Met, you'll do a boot camp at the start, and you work with your employer 4 days a week and during term time, and go to college 1 day a week. And you will, all through that time, you'll be gaining lots of experience in the area that you're in. So it is something to consider if that's a route that you want to go down. So higher level apprenticeship, you'll be wondering what on earth is that equivalent to? It's equivalent to a foundation degree or first 2 years of a university related degree, and level 3. And I've learnt since I've been in the college that in further education we talk a lot about levels, and that I know that didn't mean anything to me when I first came into the college, but a level 3 actually means it's really equivalent to an A-level qualification, equivalent to 2 A-level passes is what level 3 means. But really the added value is that all the vendor qualifications and experience that you'll also gain through that process. Also, there are employers who offer really degree apprenticeships, so that again will be a combination of working and studying at the same time. So the likes of Deloitte, Kainos and PwC will have tech degree apprenticeship options. If you do have a degree, then there are, again, a number of things that you can consider. There are many professional qualifications that you could do at further education colleges. So the likes of the Microsoft Technical Associate qualifications that I mentioned when I was talking about the apprenticeship, all of the colleges will run those. There'll be cloud qualifications, which are quite popular at the moment, and Cisco Cyber qualifications. You could look at graduate traineeships or employment from a non-IT related degree. I have a rather obtuse box there in the centre of the screen because that's very relevant at the moment, skills intervention. So if you have been impacted by coronavirus, there's a range of free, fully accredited courses that are now available to help you retrain and improve your skills. So those are available across all further education and higher education in Northern Ireland. So Open University, Ulster, Queen's and all 6 colleges have skills intervention courses that are now available. So really would encourage you to check those out. So the quickest way to find them is type NI Direct and Skills Intervention into any search engine, and that will bring you up a NI Direct page, which will list out all of the different academic institutions and the free qualifications that they're offering. So that will be the likes of perhaps a Power BI course, a Microsoft Technical Associate course, a range of different courses. I would highlight that the Queen's, they are running postgraduate certificates and a lot of IT related qualifications for people coming from a non-IT background, and I think that they're applications are closing this weekend, so do have a look at the offerings because a lot of the courses are starting in January, so it's around this time that the application deadline is, so have a look at those skills intervention programs. Another thing which is funded by the Department for Economy are Assured Skills Academies. So Assured Skills Academies are really courses that are run through colleges. So Belfast Met and universities, in fact. So Belfast Met has run 100 of these Assured Skills Academies, and it's when an employer approaches DFE and they say, we want to run a course, we need people in this area that we can't get in the marketplace. So to just give you an example, we've run Assured Skills Academies for cyber analysts, for business consultants, software testers, software engineers, a wide range of different areas. And at the end of those programs, you will have the opportunity to interview for that company. So as I said, we have run 100 of this type of course, but since March, we've run 10 and we've got 3 more, which are currently live running at the moment. From March to October, we saw 199 people go into jobs who previously were unemployed or who had lost their job. So it is a really good way to fast track yourself into an IT area as well. And there will be a number of those programs that will be advertised now coming in the new year. So those are, again, Assured Skills Academies. And if you look for Assured Skills Academies, you'll find the web page with all the information related to that. You could go and look at a master's degree in an IT related subject, and there's also master's conversion courses for people who do not have any background in IT at both Ulster and Queen's University. So really there are a huge amount of pathways into the industry and ways that you can get experience and upskill yourself. And then particularly at the moment through the skills intervention, the fully funded initiative by the Department for the Economy, how do you have a look at those if you are interested in getting into the sector? Like, it's a really great way to improve your skills and find out a wee bit more about what's going on in the industry. In Northern Ireland, there are a huge amount of IT sector employees. I just have a little snapshot of some of the employers there at the moment. So if we look at the top left-hand side of the screen, we see Aflac Northern Ireland. They have a European Centre of Excellence here in Belfast and offer both software development and cybersecurity solutions. Aflac has actually grown from 19 employees in March up to over 60 today, and they have committed to grow to 150 people in the next few years. Fintru down here on the bottom right hand side of the screen, they're a Belfast dairy-based fintech company, and they created 200 jobs from March to October. Other companies, City, I know they onboarded in the first few months of the pandemic 172 new employees. Version 1 is a Dublin headquartered IT service provider, and they have established a digital development hub in Belfast, which will lead to the creation of 70 specialist jobs by October next year. And then at the bottom here, Nuita is a homegrown company. They announced a £20 million investment with 230 jobs with average salaries of around £43,000. So really you can see the amount of opportunities that are out there, and that's just a real high-level snapshot of what's happening at the moment. So if you are thinking about getting into IT, what might you do next? You can talk to the Department for Economy Careers Service. They have careers advisors available for people who are in any stage of their career, so do talk to them. They have a careers occupational information unit, and they have published recent information about data analytics and about software technology. And actually those two pieces of information are really great because they have interviews with people in the industry. They have definitions about what those areas are all about and what skills you need and what courses you might need to take. So they're two really useful pieces of information. So do check those out if those are areas that you're interested in. Other things that you could consider is talking to somebody in the industry in a career area that you're interested in. We have Bring It On ambassadors, so we're going to be talking to Laura in a couple of minutes, who's a Bring It On ambassador. Other things that you could do is look on online platforms like Meetup or Eventbrite. There's so many different tech meetups or tech meetups for everything, and you could go to something probably every day of the week if you wanted to, and if you had the time to. There are online ways that you can upskill yourself, like Coursera or Open University has an Open Learn platform with lots of free courses and resources. And at the moment, there are a huge amount of online events happening, so that are completely free to attend as well, which are really great if you want to explore a few different areas. Do attend some online events. So now I am really happy to be able to move on and welcome Laura. So Laura is a senior software engineer at Civica in Belfast. She is an advocate for women in tech. She's a Bring It On ambassador, inspiring young people to consider a future in IT. And really, I think her story is informational and inspirational, so we're really looking forward to hearing from Laura. Laura, firstly, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and the company that you work for?
Sure, yeah. Well, as you said, I'm a senior software engineer at Civica. Now, Civica are a global company. We have offices all around the world, but our main kind of area of focus in delivering our software is sort of central and local government, health and care, housing, education, regulated markets, even just the criminal justice system and stuff. We have such a wide range of things that we do. It's impossible to say, this is what we do, because we do pretty much everything. I work as a senior software engineer in the Belfast office. So what does a senior software engineer do? I do a little bit of everything at the moment. My day can involve coding, it can involve meetings, it can involve design meetings or things like that there. So it's a really, really kind of it's taking part in the whole software life cycle, basically. So yeah, no 2 days are the same, and that's a good thing.
Very good. And we wanted to learn a wee bit more about you, Laura. So if you, what I wanted to ask is, if you told your younger self that you'd end up being a software engineer, what do you think she would say?
Oh, I'd probably say, what's a software engineer?
That wasn't anything that was on your radar, really. You were considering career options.
I mean, I came in through an apprenticeship route, and let's just say I was a relatively elderly apprentice in the stereotype of things. So yeah, I've been around for a while. I all my schooling was before Google and things like that there. So
tell us about about your story. So where did you start off? What was your background in, and how actually did you come to IT, and why on earth did you, when you didn't know what a software engineer was back in the day, did you decide to come into IT?
Well, as I say, I'd never really, when I was choosing GCSEs, when I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, it wasn't really something on my radar. My big brother was doing stuff in that area, but it wasn't something. I actually wanted to be an architect, believe it or not. When I was picking my GCSEs, that was it. You grow up and you move, and things change. So I ended up doing a GMBQ in business instead of A levels, and then I did a HND in marketing. So from that I went into administration, obviously. Basically after I finished Biffy, as it was then, I started temping and ended up at the Southeastern Health and Social, I think it's Belfast Trust now, but all these names have changed. I worked as a home care coordinator, so I was coordinating home helps between about 550 home helps and about 500 clients, so that was an organizational challenge in itself. And then from that, I did that for a while, and I kind of felt stagnating, and then the opportunity came up to take over the Cash Converters franchise in East Belfast. Being not being risk averse and wanting a new challenge, I took over the shop and sort of ran it for just under 10 years. That was interesting in itself, sort of being mid-20s and running a shop in East Belfast, and and retail and everything. So it was a challenge, and being the boss as well. You're HR, you are finance, you don't have any departments when you're a very small business. So that was interesting. Unfortunately, the economic downturns and the fact that the shop was about 200 yards from Naomi Long's office in the middle of flag protests and things like that there. Unfortunately, the business went under. So ruling life, failure is always an option. So at that stage, I had a very young daughter. She was only sort of 18 months, 2 years old, and my mum, who had MS, was getting worse and worse and worse. She was bedbound. Her care was turning into 24/7. Now we lived with her. So I basically stepped back and took a career break, as they say, and I nursed her. And about 18 months later, she passed away, which was hard. But the nursing of her and the management of highly complex medical needs was it's probably the thing that's given me the most experience and the most useful skill in my careers to date. So so she passed away. Sort of once I'd kind of got over that, I was like, okay, I don't idle well, so I need to be doing something. So, you know, that had taken up a lot of my time, as well as being a new mum and stuff as well. So I started chatting to my brother. As I said, my brother's in tech, so I started chatting to him, and I thought, well, you know, as everything you said, Sarah, you know, it's a growth industry in Northern Ireland. It's there's so much opportunity, and the pay is good. So I thought, well, I didn't want to go back into retail. I knew that.
Yeah.
I'd done my time, but yeah, so I started. He was like, well, there's Code Academy, here's a whole pile of free online resources, and give it a go. And so some Ruby on Rails tutorials, and there's so many free resources out there that you can, all you need is a laptop and a keyboard, and you can it's all done in your browser. So I poked around at that, and how do we go at that, and thought, this is quite cool. I quite like this. It's not just logic, it's also creativity, and you know, it piqued all those things and kept me interested. So it got to the point where I needed to find a job. The university route wasn't an option for me because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford the time, and I couldn't afford the fees and things. So I started looking actually at the kind of makers academies, the boot camp kind of things. And again, they were a lot of money. They were over in London, blah, blah, blah. And then I came across the Belfast Met Apprenticeship. And I thought, why not? As I do, let's try this. And so yeah, I went through it was the level 3 apprenticeship at that stage. The level 5 wasn't kind of available then, so I went through the process for that. So that was a couple of aptitude tests, and then filling out the application forms and interviewing with the companies. And thankfully, Civica had they took on a 35-year-old female apprentice, essentially, which, you know, could have been it was a risk in itself, but yeah, and from that I haven't looked back since, essentially.
Amazing. Why not? Yeah. Like, obviously they seen something in you, Laura, and like you're a woman of amazing resilience as well, and for coming back after everything that you've been through. So really amazing.
Kudos to my mother and father who brought us all up to say you can do anything, you know, and that's okay, and that's why I love being part of Bring It On, being an ambassador and going out and talking about this, because you know, you can do it. You just, you know, everybody, you know, just give it a go. Failure is always an option, and you just try the next thing. So, you know, it's not for everybody, but you should try it if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And really, why would you recommend an apprenticeship? Like, what do you think was good about taking that particular route for you?
I have never been an academic, shall we say. I learn by doing. You know, that's where I'm in my happy place. Throw me in at a deep end and take my way up. But so that the style of learning, the fact that I was going to be in work and getting that work experience and get my foot in the door. To be honest, you know, half the battle is getting your foot in the door. Yeah. And the fact that there was no university fees, that I was going to be paid to study. And now, obviously, while you're studying, the pay is not, it's an apprenticeship wage.
Yes,
but
of course.
It ramps up fairly quickly once you finish up. So yeah. But you know, so I was able to come out of it without any debt and with a full-time permanent job in software development. And you know, so just it suited my style of learning, and it suited my financial and you know, so it was the perfect route for me, essentially.
Hello. Well, I think you're right. Like there are going to be different routes that suit different people, and you know, even when I'm out talking to young people, I would say if they're really sure about IT and they might be saying, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to do this and this, and I was like, well, have you thought about an apprenticeship? You know, you'll get your experience, you will get your qualifications, which you can then pursue and top up if you want. So it's such a great option, but everybody's different, and there is a different route.
That's it.
For
I've worked with all of those routes you've talked about earlier. You know, I've worked in Civica in the Belfast office. I've worked with people that have come through those routes. Civica are amazing about, bringing on, placement students, apprenticeships, graduates, and feeding in from the Met and stuff as well. So yeah, not having a degree is not a barrier to entry, and that's so important to get out there.
I know. I think they're totally right. There's a lot of fear around getting into the industry, that it's inaccessible if you don't have a certain level of education. And again, that's something I suppose you probably speak about a lot when you're out and about talking to young people, Laura, is that you don't need to have a degree to get into the industry. Yeah. There are other ways in, like the likes of the apprenticeship or the other courses that are offered at further education colleges as well. So really want to ask you, how did you feel? I'm sure, I know you seem to be a person that's no fear, but what would you say, like, if somebody's really kind of not sure, unsure, but they want to give it a go? What would your advice be to somebody who wants to get into the tech sector and who maybe is starting again? What are your top tips?
Top tips. I mean, as I mentioned, the free online resources, even some of the courses that you're running at the moment, in the Met and things like that. There are, try it before you buy it, basically. And talk to people. The meetups. Okay, there's not so many in-person meetups,
yeah.
But there's online communities. There's the Slack, Northern Ireland Tech Slack community. There are just get out there, speak to people, and give it a go in your own time. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing. It's I suppose I knew from doing a few of the different tutorials that it was something that I wanted to, that was the key to me deciding to go down this route. And then once you do decide, then you need to figure out which way's best for you.
Yes, I know.
So that's the difficult bit, actually. I mean, it was fairly clear for me because I had I couldn't go to university, I couldn't do this, so it was the route was fairly clear to me. Now, interestingly, I wasn't even aware of the apprenticeships existing in Northern Ireland. It was completely by accident that I came across it.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, but the universe will take you wherever you're meant to be, kind of thing, So yeah, it's but ever since then, I have not stopped bleeding on about apprenticeships, because I want people to know about that, and about that it is a really, really valid and quick way into the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, you're totally right.
Try, as I say, just try the free stuff. That'll tell you fairly quickly whether you want to code or not. But the caveat there being also is that there's so many different roles. So maybe you're coming from an arts background and you want to do UX design. There's courses for it. Maybe you like I'm trying to think what else. There's so many. That's the problem. Business analysis.
Yes.
Do you like digging down into the detail and eking out from the customer? What the actual requirements are. All of it involves both creativity and logic. So if those kind of things interest you, then you're going to find your way. But there's so many diverse roles. It doesn't have to just be code. I went down that route because that's where I started from. I code very little at the moment because I'm moving into a product management role. It's just, I said, don't just think because you don't like code that you can't get into the industry. There's just so many different things that don't require that in-depth technical knowledge to do it.
I know that is actually a question that we would get asked a lot, or when you asked a room of people, what do you think about when you think about roles in IT, and they'll say coding.
Yeah.
It's
I don't code at the moment.
There's a whole, like as I said, there's a whole array of different pathways that you could take. Like there's not just one route, but no, very, very correctly said, Laura. It's just depends on what you're interested in, where your strengths lie. I suppose another question I want to ask you is, like, sometimes people will have like a little piece of advice or encouragement or something that somebody's said or given to you. Is there anything really that like a piece of advice that somebody's given you that you would like to share
in relation to the tech industry? Yeah, well, especially when you're talking about software development and things. I mean, it was actually about probably the first or second week of my apprenticeship. No, it was after the boot camp. It was it was just after anyway, it was the very early days of the apprenticeship. And I was sitting in work and I was whirling through a Pluralsight course. So Pluralsight's an online training platform. It's really, really, really good. And so I was I was learning C#, essentially, having pretty much never had heard about it before that. But we use it a lot in Civica. So it's a computing language, and the instructor on there, because I'm a bit of a control freak by nature, but the instructor on there was said something that rang true and actually just helped me settle and get on with it. It's like, accept you will not know everything, because the tech industry, even the frameworks, the code, it changes so rapidly, and there are can be quite overwhelming at times, and the amount of things you can do with it and the areas you can go into. But if so he's like, just accept that you won't know everything, which was hard for me, but because I like but yeah, it's and that rang true with me. And then once that happened, or once I settled myself to that, it was a lot easier to kind of knuckle down and focus on the learning. And I suppose another piece of advice is, once you do get your foot in the door, find yourself a mentor, find yourself an advocate, and just because I would have been nowhere today without the people that I work with. My colleagues that I work with, the teams that I've worked with in the last 6 years have been amazing, and they have been my greatest advocates. They've been my greatest mentors, and just the accepting of, this person is learning, and let them learn. And that's something that's really, really, really good about Civica, is that they do have that ethos. And it's all about the continual learning and investing in yourself. It's about the people. If the people aren't happy, then you're not going to make good work. They're not going to do good work. So I mean, find yourself that mentor or the advocate, or just somebody you can talk to and be completely honest with. Accept that you can't know everything, and find a friend, find a mentor.
Good points, Laura. Really brilliant. One other thing that I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned actually that you are growing in your role, that your role is changing. That's really exciting. So do tell us, like, what you're going to be moving into, and what, like, as a product owner role, what does that involve, and how?
Jack of all, master of none. No, so about 18 months ago, we had 18 months or 2 years ago, we had a new MD come into the Belfast office, and he was shaking things up a bit, and he talked to all of us. We all had round tables, and we were all going on about innovation, and just not working on projects, having some of the time to be a bit more creative and think of our own things. So he set up an innovation team, which I was part of, and we answered a challenge by Belfast City Council in terms of parks and open spaces, basically. So we've developed this kind of platform using IoT sensors and AI and various other things. So from that, basically we had executive backup and everything, and they were really interested in bringing it on as a product. And so Sensei is now alive as a product, but I've been involved with it right since our first design meeting. It was me that brought the problem to the thing. So it's kind of my baby. And as part of that as well, and talking to we have sort of quarterly, monthly check-ins with our line management about where we want to go. And I'm 6 years in now, and I've kind of figured out the different roles available and the different things I want to try out. So product management, product ownership, which are technically two different things, but basically it's that you're almost that linchpin between the customer and the development team, basically. So you're the one sort of leading where the product goes, and translating what customers want into your roadmap and organizing all that. We're a small team, so there's only 4 of us. But I'm leading the team essentially, and so it's given me, so this next wee while, it's an early days product, as I've said before, failure can happen. And but we've just installed into our first actual customer
Wow.
last
Congratulations,
week.
Laura. That's amazing.
No,
coming from the ideas to the design and inception of the
so it's a really good
product,
milestone. So now I have not coded in probably over a month or 2 now.
Wow.
I finished up on all the other projects I was finishing on in terms of being a developer on. So now my day-to-day is sort of leading the team and figuring out where we're going next, and then dealing with the customers, dealing with various bids that we're putting in to try and get a few sales in and things. So it's a really it's interesting. It's interesting. I miss code. I do miss code, but there's something just nice about fixing that bug or finishing that feature. But yeah, I'm getting the same buzz from going live and the new customer, and seeing the things and helping the team to stay on track, and it's great.
Such a personal development journey that is, or it really is, and like you're now, like you've seen so many different areas and been involved in different projects, and
I suppose
great.
That's the nice thing about Civica, is that I went in as the apprentice, so I started off actually with manual testing, so just going, clicking buttons and telling things were saying where things were broken. From then on to automation, so running the automated test suite and making sure all of that kind of things. From then I was on to support tests, so business as usual, as we call it here, which was firefighting and all of that kind of stuff, and responding to customers as and when needed. And then I went on to a full development role for the criminal justice data sharing project. And I mean, I've come pretty much all of the software development life cycle. I've pretty much had a go at now, and so this is where I want to focus on for the next wee while. The nice thing about the industry is if you get tired of it after a while, I can either go back to coding if I want, or I can say, oh, okay, I want to be a project manager this time, or I want to do, so, and that's the nice thing about Civica as well, as they will facilitate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Like, your story is such an inspiration, and I'm sure anybody hearing this today, like, I hope that will make you see that, anything is possible. Take a chance, try something new. As Laura said, find yourself a friend. Don't be put off that there's so much to learn. You're not going to know everything. Oh, good product placement. You're not going to know everything, but do take that chance, because there is a world of opportunity out there. And if you want to talk to us more, please do reach out. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and you can email us as well. We're Bring It On at belfastmet.ac.uk. We have Laura and lots of other fantastic ambassadors. We really appreciate all that you do, Laura, for Bring It On, and with the schools activity that you do as well. It's amazing, and really, I know you're gonna continue to go out and do that, and be a great advocate for the sector going forward. And really, I think we're going to wrap up for today. But as I said, if you do have any questions for us, get in touch. And thank you, Laura, for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.